You close that tab.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm just going to use it.
You got about 10 minutes to start.
Yeah, I'm the only one that walked out. I'm the only one that walked out. And that was because I wanted to get ready for that.
Again, I probably won't understand a word of this, but I've put an SQL presentation 3 or 4 times. I still don't understand SQL, so hey.
Well, the question here isn't so much whether you understand it as much as you'll understand it. It's just, in your setting, you have databases set up to where you just, if somebody's inside the library, they just go get directly to the database. If they're outside the library, they can put in some credential and get to the database. That's a challenge in public libraries.
Are you familiar with RA21?
Vaguely.
Well, same here. But it sounds like it's going to become immensely simpler, immensely more complicated. Apparently, you have to upload your entire user database. So our data folks get kind of nervous when we say things like that.
I'll bet.
If I fall asleep, my chair don't take it.
I will not.
Presenting makes a lot out of it.
That I understand. Please.
Okay, it seems like it's after a day and a half, I figured that out.
I hate our god awful test servers. Give me koha-test dot.
This is different from the one we were checking yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get tabs already set up.
Right. You like to be prepared.
Okay, so
We'll leave them off then. I think I can get work better. So.
yeah, I think it's clearer for them. This is gonna work. Well, and I think it's better to maybe not do than it would put out instead of putting it you say that like, good luck. Yeah, I think we've got about 2 minutes according to that clock. I'm hardcore.
So next up here, we've got Ed Veal, and he's going to talk about authenticating through Koha for database access. So I think everybody here knows Ed. Needs no introduction, right?
Hello? Is anybody paying attention out there yet? All right. I'm going to do a quick presentation about using Koha to authenticate your users to then have access to the different databases. There's functionality within Koha that allows that to happen. There are a number of issues at play if you choose to go down that path. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. So, to begin with, I want to talk about some of those issues. First, you've got a variety of different databases that you're dealing with. Ones that are, that the library subscribes to independently, as opposed to those that are subscribed to through consortia, in our particular case, the state library. So you have variables there that you can and cannot control. Because of that, up to this point, we've run all of our database information through our website, and it's not been connected to the ILS at all, which has its pros and cons. And this is just a screen capture of the city website. Sorry, all of these screen captures are done on a tablet because that's what I had at the time. So, well, thank you. Specifically in our case, our biggest issue is some changes that the Texas State Library through TextShare has imposed upon us. So we had to come up with a way to allow our patrons to get access to these databases in a slightly easier way. As we talked about, yesterday during the lunch speech, nobody, what 10% of our online stuff is really being utilized. And then to have the state library throw an additional barrier up there was not something that we found acceptable. So right now what has to happen is patrons will go to our website, then they get linked through to here, and using a little pointer, they have to choose their library. So when they click on that, they get this list of all of these libraries. What makes this even worse is if they're in-house, when they go to this page, they still get this same option, even though it says it's selected. But I see patrons going through this process, even though they don't have to, because the page is not any different for them internally, causing additional confusion on their part. So that's identified the problem. So we decided we would use Koha's restricted page feature to do this. Took us some steps. The first thing we had to do was talk the TextShare folks into pretending like we were an academic institution. And that was a challenge because they want the public libraries to use their little portal thing, and they're fine when the academic institutions say, we want to have a single login. So all of the databases have an authenticated pass-through URL as long as you have some other authentication tool in front of that. They don't like to talk about that with public libraries. So we talked them into it. I did a couple of test systems, sent them permissions so they could get in, figure out how it worked, and finally agreed that yes, you are really doing this. So they agreed, so they gave us the URLs. Then we started designing. For those of you that were in my last little presentation, I am not a graphic designer. I don't pretend to be. Recently hired a library tech who is a graphic designer and web developer. So she got to work creating stuff. And so she put together a nice little page for us, and we started doing some testing. There are a few things within Koha, very few that you have to do to get this set up. There's a batch of sysprefs, OPAC, what are they, under the OPAC preferences, and it's restricted page. Pretty straightforward. You have an option here to add in all of your HTML for this page. IP address pass-throughs. This is how you can address the folks that are inside your institution. You set up those IP addresses in there, and then you give the page a name. Seems simple enough. So I did it, got it going, seemed to work all right. The tricky part is you have to figure out what the URL is. The URL is whatever your Koha instance is, and then opaque restricted page .pl. Really fairly simple. Well, that blackout didn't work as well as I thought it would, but hey, you know, something. This is just a quick snippet of what we have in this HTML page. Basic design in there. Now let's see how it really works. So I'm gonna come up here. Nope. Nope. How do I go back? How do I get out of slides? Not that way. Escape. Okay. So this is what patrons are having to do right now. As you've seen, they come in here. We have included all of these other resources in those lists of resources on the page. But the big one is the text share databases. They click on here, pick one, go through. You have to first select your library. They get this message no matter what, whether they're in your library or not. And that's frustrating. It's very confusing to the patrons. Then if they're inside it, they do this, blah, blah, blah. Then they have to know the password. And what we really don't like about this is, how about this phrasing? Here, come see all this stuff, but to remotely do this, you got to call us during business hours to get some password. That was not acceptable. So that's what they're doing. So here is the alternative. We've creating a database link up on our Koha instance. The patron clicks on that, and they use their regular credential as they would logging into the catalog. I still can't type and talk at the same time, which now gives them access to our database page. From here, they would click on whatever, you know, we've developed our own internal, no, let's not save that. We've developed our own internal use there. And then they can go to a specific database. And there we go, we're in there. So they're only using their Koha login for all of it, which helps them and helps us. All right. Back here. There we go. So we have some issues moving forward. One problem that we see with this is maintaining the integrity of the different URLs, because each vendor, we don't have direct access to those vendors because they're through the text share consortia, through these different consortia. So as URLs will change based on the vendor's rules and regulations, we'll have to be maintaining these links. They're not that many. We think that's well worth it for the ease of access for our patrons. It's funny that I think this presentation was given at most places 10 years ago for academic libraries dealing with this issue. Another issue we had, you noticed that we had separate images. Our graphic designer didn't like some of the logos, wanted some more consistency. That's something we're going to have to work with, whether we want to use the logos from the vendors or kind of create our own consistency. That's a discussion moving forward, how we want to do that. If we want to use our own images, where we want to host those images. Those are issues that we're going to have to work through as we make this live. There is also another minor issue that we've been working with. The IP pass-through has some minor issues with it. And I've been working with Kyle and Bywater, and they're getting that resolved. And as soon as they get that resolved, then this is going to be truly ready for prime time. Like I said, there are just some minor issues with that pass-through system preference and the way it works within our configuration. Those are the big issues that we see coming with this. I'm sure there are many more that I have not foreseen yet that we will stumble across. What kind of questions do y'all have at this point? I'd like to go back. I can go back and play with it some more. Yes. All right, let's go. Can I use both mics at the same time, or do I have to take that? How about I just take this one off? It depends on how much specificity you want. Nick can answer this more than I can. Yeah, my last conversation with Joy was that it was moving along, and they've set up some workarounds for us in the meantime. But I wanted to say that in case I know there's some Texas folks here that are interested in doing this, and I don't want to all of a sudden have a bunch of tickets presented to Bywater that they don't, they're not quite ready to to deal with. That sounds like something we've kind of struggled with a little bit. We have a lot of databases that, as you say, they don't care. We pay for it. They don't care who has access to it. And do we put all of those behind this login or not? Is that kind of...
Well, essentially what you would do is on the restricted page, that block there with give up here. One category. I'm trying to think of is the pink category part of one? But you could run a JSON word. There's so many different ways you can do this, but yeah, it's
Right now, the way it's set up, you cannot do more than that. It's all within a single system, which is, you can set up all sorts of custom pages, but only one restriction.
Well, I don't need it. I don't need it. I know how I would go about fixing it. But I'm in a position.
And that wasn't much of a consideration for us. We're right smack in the northeast. One of the few libraries right up there in our county. That if you're in the county, we'll give you a card and we'll give you full access there. It's not worth it out. Because we've got multiple cities all around us. And some of them restrict, you can have access to all of this, but not this one. And all of these, but not this one, but not these two. And we decided that was, you know.
What if they have people who don't take a library card? Sounds like you need to log in. Even if you're in the library.
That's what we're resolving. And the way it's designed, no, you don't have to have a library card when you're in the library. Just click on it and go. But because of, as Nick was explaining, a few background issues between having, you know.
So, on your page, those links, those are referring URL. It has to be a link from that page version on the page.
No, it's not a referring URL. It's an embedded URL that that the state library has verified that we have already authenticated our user.
So how do you stop that?
You don't in the tech, and they know it. Yeah, your power users will figure that out. Yes.
So when you want to implement it, go to the same library and send different URLs, or
I hope not.
pay that way?
I hope not. I hope I have paved that way. We will see. And that was why when I had that slide, I tried to black out some of the embedded password information in there because it's in the HTML.
I think we talked to but
I have no problem if you CC me on the email because the state library is going away from it. The state library doesn't want to maintain those. They wanted everything to go through their portal, and they didn't want to use referring URL. They wanted everybody to individually log in. How they're addressing this in academic libraries, I don't know, and I don't care. But that's probably the academic libraries, you know, UT, Texas, you know, they can tell them what to do. The other way around. Excuse me? Correct.
That's what we use. Fairly happy.
Yeah, there are a number of folks that have been using Easy Proxy and have run into a couple of hiccups since the state library changed things that were preventing Easy Proxy from working. And we're not sure what happened there. We weren't using Easy Proxy for that, so that's background that I'm not fully familiar with. I think there were some bad decisions made at the state level. Imagine that. So, anybody have any comments, questions? One thing that I've thought about doing is talking to Bywater, and even if we use their images finding a way to host those images on our server somewhere, on an image directory. Because the way we are right now, if that link ever gets broken for any reason, then we lose the image. And at least if they're all on the same server, then they have all or nothing. That is my second option, because the city does everything through Civics Plus, and we have almost no control over what is done on the city website. We have some folks that are given limited access, but to put anything there, everything has to go through the city marketing department. So if we were to want to put an image up there for any reason on the website, they have to have been the ones who designed it. They have to have been the ones to okay it. And it is a hassle. And then we still have the issue of if for some reason that link between our city site and Koha is broken due to, I don't know, whatever reason, then we're back to getting bad. So, like I said, we've got some issues to work through. I think we're going to be ready to go live with this easily in the next, all depending on that. And Larry has gotten a good workaround for me in the meantime. So I can turn it on live at any point, but it works. All right. That one? Yeah, sorry. No, that's not easy to find. It makes sense once you read it, but probably. It's not a link to it within the image.
Yes, not in the image.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, probably all the way throughout it. Yeah, that's probably why it's red. You want to look that up real quickly? It should just be a line on there somewhere. There's no. Yeah. All right. Anything else? We're finishing up early as well.
The koha-US meeting doesn't start till 3:15, so Ed's speedy delivery there is like an hour.
I'm only 15 minutes shy.